everybody. Welcome to the Hallmark podcast. And today we have a very, very special treat. We are talking with Samantha DiPippo, the Hallmark SVP of Development. And this is going to be so much fun to kind of get sort of the insider perspective of what's going on at Hallmark. And thank you so much, Samantha, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So this is your first time on the podcast. So why don't you introduce yourself to us? Tell us a little bit about how you got to your position at Hallmark.
Yeah. So as you said, I'm SVP of Development and I oversee our holiday slate. So I've been at Hallmark almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years in January. Feels like a lot longer. I came here from another network where I was doing a lot of true crime and kind of after school specials and thrillers. And, we occasionally got to do Christmas, but I was really excited to come to Hallmark where it is literally the home of Countdown to Christmas and to be able to work with this team and make some Christmas magic.
Yeah. So what's your education background? Were you in film or were you in business or what?
Yeah, I went to Ithaca College in upstate New York. It's a very, very snowy place for most of the year.
Yeah.
It actually has snowed on graduation there. And I majored in television and radio with a concentration in video production. It's a slightly different major now, but it was very much focused in production, development, writing, editing, everything. So it was a great experience. I loved it. And I had interned at Sony Pictures Television in current programming and development in LA my last semester there. And I ended up staying on at Sony in New York.
Wow. Yeah. So you've been at Hallmark for 5 years. And how did you initially get started with working for Hallmark?
Well, I had actually someone at Hallmark had reached out to me, and when this opportunity came along, I was very, very excited. So like I mentioned, the ability to create Christmas movies, but also just these movies in general. Hallmark is such a quintessential brand. It's honestly has a huge fandom, as you know. And so to be a part of that was really, really exciting. I've worked at a lot of different networks and studios, as I just mentioned with Sony, but I've never gotten the kind of reaction when I say I work at Hallmark versus any place else. People go a little crazy, which is understandable because they love it so much, and so do I. But it is unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Well, it's kind of interesting because you started right around when we started the podcast. Our very first, we started in the summer of 2017. So I feel like we've kind of had the same journey, had a similar journey.
Do you remember what the first movie was that you reviewed?
The first, we did. We originally did our very, very first episode was we did a top 12 of our favorite Hallmark Christmas movies for Christmas in July, and
very
people
cool.
seemed to really like it. And so then that summer nights, the next batch of summer nights, that August was the first batch that we reviewed, and then we did some What Calls the Heart and some other things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I started in January, and my first movie, since we work very fast and furious here, my first movie was on the air for June weddings that year.
Wow.
Which was The Perfect Bride with Kevin and Pascal. I loved
that. Fan favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, that was technically my first Hallmark movie.
Wow. So over these 5 years, how do you think the brand has evolved and changed?
We just have gone so much deeper with our storytelling and really showing grounded characters and worlds. And I think, the big thing for Hallmark is that this is obviously an over 100-year-old brand that's built on love and family and relationships. And so we're really excited to be able to expand on that and tell stories and show characters that really showcase love in its many forms. And I think this Countdown to Christmas season, and even for Miracles of Christmas, are good examples of that, right? We have a lot of stories that aren't necessarily, romance being your A story. We have stories of relationship with your grandparents, relationships with neighbors and friends that are family. And so that's really kind of expanded our world and brought something new to the audience.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that, especially this year. They promised change at Hallmark, and I feel like this Christmas season, they've really delivered. I really think.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're definitely seeing the change from the audience and just how much everybody's loving it, which makes me and my team extremely happy. We're really proud of the slate this year, and it's important that this is a place where everyone feels welcome.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. From the hosts of the podcast Home for Hallmark, Molly and Brad now bring readers their debut novel, If Only Christmas Would Come. An instant Amazon bestseller, If Only Christmas Would Come transports readers back to Prince Edward Island during the era of Anne of Green Gables and features a strong-headed, cranberry farming, jeans-wearing heroine and a playboy with a family secret. Reviewers agree this book is a fluffy, steamy, predictable Hallmark movie masterpiece. If Only Christmas Would Come is available on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble now. Visit at Home for Hallmark for more info. That's at Home for Hallmark, and you can use our affiliate link in the description below. So what do you think makes for the perfect Hallmark Christmas movie?
Well, I can't give you like the full recipe, right? Because there's a little bit of secret sauce, and I will say, at the previous network that I worked at, I actually was tasked at making Hallmark versions of Christmas movies, which is really funny. And they were close, but they were not quite there. I can tell you quite honestly, they were not there. And that's really because we know our brand better than anyone, and we do this better than anyone. And so a lot of it comes from this team. We look at a very specific lens, but I think this year our slate is probably the most expansive and diverse that we've ever had, which is really exciting. And it offers the audience something new and different, right? We've all seen a lot of Christmas content. I'm sure you watch it just as much as we are, right? So, to kind of find what's that perfect Hallmark movie, it could be all different things, right? I think if you look at just using our Thanksgiving week as an example, right? We had Haul Out the Holly, which was very different, right? That's probably our broadest comedy that we've ever done. But to me, I think that's a perfect Hallmark movie. I love that movie. It is about friendship and community and relationships. And, then you look at A Holiday Spectacular, which was very different, but at its core, it's a Hallmark movie that, the main story really focuses on these four women and their journey together and how these friends became family. And so that really kind of is rooted in our values and what our audience comes to us for, that escapism.
So what would you say is your sort of process for developing the movies? Do you have like this slush pile of scripts that you're going through all the time, or do you kind of brainstorm, here's some ideas, and then put them to the writers, or do you have sort of a process?
It's kind of all over the place. We meet with Santa pretty regularly. We get ideas. Yeah. Honestly, from everywhere. We're pitched in a lot, but, some are internally generated, which is great. Like I said, our team is fantastic. I cannot say that enough. They are the hardest working programming team in the business. And especially with the amount of content that we crank out every year, but also the level at which we maintain everything. It's pretty amazing. And when it comes to pitches that come in, we're really looking for something that feels different, but still very much us, right? We get those pitches. I'm sure you probably heard this from other people too. It's like, I have the perfect Hallmark movie. And then you look at it and you're like, this is something from 10 years ago. We're just trying to continue to push ourselves and, and elevate our storytelling as much as possible. And actually, when it comes to internal ideas, I can at least tell you this since this movie has aired, but Three Wise Men and a Baby was an internal idea. That was one of the junior execs on our team had texted me like right after Thanksgiving last year. And she said, I have a crazy idea I want to run by you. Let me know when you're free. Of course, I called her immediately. I'm all up for crazy ideas. And and she said, I would love to do a movie with three of our leading men, and I don't know, something like Three Men and a Baby, but it'd be like Three Wise Men and a Baby. And I'm thinking maybe Andrew and Tyler and Paul. And I just said, yes, let's figure this out. And we called Paul and Kim actually that week, and we said, here is a crazy idea. And they loved it. And they wrote such a beautiful, beautiful movie. Honestly, it is filled with comedy, as one would expect, but there's a lot of heart in that movie that is, I think, was probably surprising to our audience. I can tell you I cried. The scene with them in the car, I definitely cried. So
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it got a perfect score for me, which is very rare. I thought it was super funny, and I enjoyed even all the supporting work.
Yes.
Matt Hamilton, he was so good in it.
He's so good. And it's really funny. He's worked with us a bunch, and Ali Liebert, who directed North to Home for us earlier in the year. And I had called Ali when we were doing Holiday Sitter, which is another lovely film that she directed for us. But I was on set with Ali when we were doing Holiday Sitter, and we were talking about Three Wise Men, and she's like, yeah, I don't know, I might be able to like figure this out and swing. And I was like, oh my God, you should do it. And then she was excited that he was in it. So it was like, we all love to work together, and especially our talent loves to pop up in each other's movies. So that was really fun.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me to my next question. What is the casting process like? I mean, do you usually have a couple people that you're aiming for, or just depends on the piece?
It really, look, we try to service the creative as best as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that our audience loves to see some of their fan favorites. And, we try to really work with our talent in developing content that, is something that they feel really passionate about too. Haul Out the Holly is a great example. Lacey has done comedy for many, many years. And, when we were talking about this one, we really wanted to push it out of the box. She hasn't done something this broad for us. Right. And so we continuously just kept pushing the script on that and getting it to a place that felt like it was very much a Hallmark movie, but that it was like 4.0. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to casting, we have an amazing casting department who's led by Penny Perry. But she and Tatiana Azrami are constantly working on checking, who's available and working with us to really find the best talent for each role. So we work with the executives and we talk through every character, and there's a lot of love that goes into all these projects, a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that the other seasons, they used to be kind of a staple on Hallmark Channel with like Winterfest, and that seems like they've been kind of moving away from that, from those blocks. Did you feel like they were kind of too restrictive, or what was the thought behind that?
I think we're still doing seasons throughout
Mm-hmm.
the year, and we've had Summer Nights, we had, Fall into Love. I think it's just expanding a little bit broader maybe on the titles, but we do lean into it. And especially in our Fall into Love, our audience really loves to really capture that feeling of fall, right? It gets you into the moment and gets you ready for Christmas and all of those things. So I think when it comes to the seasonality of our movies, the big thing is that we're expanding our storytelling. So it's not like, again, I'll go back to the pitches that we get a lot, where it's a big city girl goes back to her small town and has to help save her parents' bakery while putting on the pageant at the, community center. And that feels like a storyline, right? We probably would have done years ago. So what's that next story that we're telling and keeping everybody on their toes? And so it may not be as overt, but we're really expanding our storytelling across the board for our other seasons as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are a couple that I really enjoyed. You mentioned the Holly, you mentioned Three Wise Men and a Baby, a couple others that I really enjoyed so far. In Merry Measure, I really loved that one.
That one.
Yeah.
It's I laughed so hard at that movie. Patty and Brendan and Jennifer are amazing. I mean, Patty
Yeah,
and Jennifer together as sisters was quite
great.
genius. But yeah, I have loved Patty for years, and Brendan, I knew he could, the two of them had the best time, clearly, because you can see it on screen.
Well, we've been joking that Hallmark's been embracing the nerd chic with the guys this season. And that was a great
That was
example.
not planned, by the way.
Putting Brendan through the nerdifier machine really worked. Great.
I'm glad. Yeah, no, that kind of just happened. But I mean, I laughed at him so much in that movie. There's like one scene where Patty's character walks in and they're doing rehearsal, and he just kind of turns and isn't even like looking at us, he's smiling. He's like, "Can you hear the angels, Darcy? Do you hear them sing?" I was like, oh my gosh, it's so
good.
funny. It's so good. But
we had the writer on, Russell Hainline, and
yeah,
it was a great conversation. I'm really excited about him for the future. I mean, that's the secret stars of the Hallmark Channel are the writers. I mean, we've interviewed tons. The first interview we ever did was with Nina Weinman, who's obviously a legend.
Yes.
And
had a movie on last night.
yeah, absolutely.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
And then another one that I loved was Ghost of Christmas Always.
Oh yeah. That one, I'm sure I've seen it as well. How many different iterations of A Christmas Carol have there been? Right? I mean, there's one right now on Apple TV Plus.
Right, yeah.
But what I loved about this story was being able to tell it from the ghost perspective felt different.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I love time travel, anything with, playing with time or, characters that kind of know each other in the past, present, this really was able to connect a lot of pieces in a different kind of way. And I think the audience really had a great time. And the cast was great. Mm-hmm. The cast was really, really special.
And this season you've done Hanukkah movies before.
Mm-hmm.
This season you're doing one and then also Kwanzaa movie. Was that Holly Robinson Pete that was kind of part of getting that happen, or how did that happen?
This was our first Kwanzaa movie we've ever done, and I'm very, very proud and excited about it. It was something that we kind of decided we wanted to do last year. Like you said, we've done Hanukkah the past several years, and this year's Hanukkah movie, Hanukkah on Rye, is really good. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But with Holiday Heritage, that was, this is our first foray into Kwanzaa. So we're really excited that Holly Robinson Pete was able to come on board. But we have Brooks Darnell and Lindy Greenwood, and it's really an interesting relationship between these three women, in three generations of women: her grandmother, her mother, and herself. So we're excited to have for everyone to see it.
So there's so much competition now in this space. So everybody, even QVC had a movie. I don't know if you knew that, but they had a movie this year. Like, it's ridiculous.
I thought that was like not true, but it was.
Yeah, sure. I actually haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was actually fun.
It's accurate, but yes, that happens. Yeah.
So how do you make sure Hallmark remains in the top spot?
Well, look, obviously imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But for us, look, we aren't looking at what anyone else is doing. We're just looking forward, and how are we continuing to elevate our Countdown to Christmas and Miracles of Christmas. We know the audience comes to us for a very specific thing, right? They want a Hallmark Channel movie, or they want a Hallmark Movies and Mysteries movie, and nobody can do that like us. And if you look at the slate this year, as we've been talking about, there's a lot of things that feel, this is fresh, right? This is a different way in. And, like our Italian Christmas Memories, and having, our lead who's dealing with her grandfather with Alzheimer's, like those are, but then you have that moment at the end that's really, really beautiful and heartfelt. I think we're just continuing to push ourselves. Our team is really just going out of the box while still very much on brand, right? Which is a weird needle to thread, right? And, we're currently still the number one cable entertainment network for fourth quarter to date. And this Thanksgiving, our Merry Thanksgiving weekend, it was the 10th year in a row that we were number one again. So, I think it just shows that our audience is continuing to come to us. A new audience is finding us, which is always great. This is obviously someone who's very young, but my great niece, who's 5, is obsessed with our movies, and she watches them all the time. And so now she watches them with her mom. And so now we're kind of just, building that next generation of Hallmark viewers, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And it must be kind of challenging to know, okay, how far do we push it? Like, how much risk do we take?
I think there is like a little barometer that I have in my brain of of what feels right. But what's been so exciting is, our audience is like me. It's like you, right? We watch everything. We watch a lot of different things, right? And so there's things that, especially from a creative standpoint, that people come to us for because they want to feel that Hallmark, aspirational kind of fantasy, that escape, right, for those 2 hours. And so we don't want to, we're not going to let them down in that, but we want to keep pushing it so it feels, slightly different, or there's a magic sparkle to it that you haven't seen before. And, Ghost of Christmas Always is a great example of that. I have, and our team has done other variations of A Christmas Carol, but this was different. And so that's what we're just trying to continue to push ourselves and really create characters and storylines where everyone feels welcome. And that kind of, diverse programming really opens your storytelling a lot more.
Well, yeah, especially if you're going to have 41 movies, like,
yeah. I faint as you say that number. Yeah, no, it's a large task, but people get so excited. We will not let you down. That's the best part of it. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
We like to end our interviews with some fun holiday questions. So here we go. The first question is, what is your favorite holiday drink?
I don't have a specific drink, but it would have to have vodka in it. That's usually that's my go-to. So maybe like some sort of like Christmas martini thing.
Yeah. Okay, good. You're drinking like a Cosmopolitan or something.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
That it doesn't sound Christmassy, but it's this like saltine bark that my mom's made since I was a kid. She actually puts nuts on it, but I've been
crack
making
candy.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
But I've been making it with like cracked peppermint on the top, and it is so sticky and like disgusting, and it's a lot of cleanup, but we do it every year, and it's kind of, it doesn't feel like Christmas without that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
Oh gosh. I would say probably Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Yeah.
Judy Garland.
I love
It's,
that one too.
I mean, it makes you cry. That's why, I mean, music for us as well is so important in our movies. And I love finding the perfect song for a scene. I don't know if you saw Inventing the Christmas Prince, but that song at the end, I mean, that just kind of came together, and I was like, oh my gosh,
that was nice.
This is setting the whole tone, and made me cry. So
well, I've said it many times on the podcast, but every time someone starts to sing "Oh Holy Night," I'm like, oh no, because it's such a hard song. It's not an easy song.
Like, are you gonna hit it? Yeah,
like you have to have. And so I was so excited in Best Christmas Family Christmas Party one.
Yes,
that she like nailed it. And
yeah,
it's one of the best, and it meant so much to the whole story and everything. I was like, oh, okay, good.
Really,
I'm usually like, just pick a different song, please.
Well, unfortunately, there's only a certain amount of those public domain Christmas songs.
But it's just "Oh Holy Night" is hard. It's just a hard song.
I agree with you. Yes.
But so, what is your favorite classic Christmas movie?
Oh gosh. Like I said, I watch everything. I actually am a big TCM viewer. So I would probably, I mean, you could say, of course, the quintessential It's a Wonderful Life, but I love Christmas in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that movie. And of course, Christmas Vacation. I mean, who's not gonna Christmas Vacation?
Well, I mean, I felt like #Xmas, which I hate that title, by the way, but the movie itself, it was very Christmas in Connecticut inspired, I feel.
Yes, there's a ruse, and they have to. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, that movie is really funny.
Yeah, it was cute. Okay, which do you like better, Scrooge or the Grinch?
I'd probably say the Grinch. I love the Who's and Whoville, so like that'd be a cool place to hang out.
Yeah, good. Which do you like better, clear lights or colored?
Definitely colored lights. Yeah.
Okay, good. Would you rather be in a snowball fight or build a snowman?
I feel like a snowball fight would be fun. I would definitely do a snowball fight. Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a good gift wrapper?
I try. There's some people that I know I'm definitely gifting things to that I'm like, okay, my presents will definitely have like a little bit more pizzazz than yours. But then like I get something else for my sister, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I failed. Yeah. She puts a lot of bows on things. That's great.
All right, last question. Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater? You might even be wearing one right now.
I am wearing a Countdown to Christmas sweater specifically for you. But it's so funny. I don't own this sweater, but I have to reference it because it is my favorite ugly sweater of all time. This is a throwback, but if you've ever seen the movie, The Mistletoe Secret with Kelly Pickler and Tyler Hines, there is a sweater that we picked out for him that is like a bunch of cats with Santa hats on.
Oh,
it's the ugliest sweater I've ever seen, but we purposely put it in the movie because it was hilarious. And people can buy it on, I think it's like Tipsy Elves or something. Yeah. But it is my favorite ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah. Well, very good. You answered all the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was so interesting. I'd love to have you back every now and then, hear how things are going. Yeah. I obviously we love Hallmark Channel and we love covering it. And so thanks so much for taking the time to come talk to us.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. And, I would definitely love to come back. We are hard at work getting started for next year. So I can't really announce anything yet, but we will be shooting very soon. Let's put it that way. We're getting a jump on 2023.
All right. Well, very good. I don't know if you have social media or anything like that or anything you want to share.
I do on Twitter. It's just my name. It's
okay,
really
great.
Complex. No.
Okay, great. We'll have that in the description. People can follow you, and thanks again. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
You too. We'd like to thank Samantha for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with her and get to get the behind the scenes of the Hallmark Channel. And thanks for Hallmark Channel for letting us do this. This was really, really great time. So let us know what you think about all the different things we talked about. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And make sure that you follow me on Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Make sure you're following the podcast on Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is so much fun. We have some great events coming up. So you definitely want to sponsor the Patreon. You won't regret it. And then we also have our merch store where you can get tons of fun festive designs and sales and all kinds of different merch with t-shirts and stickers and magnets and everything you could want. So check that out. And thanks again to Samantha, and we'll talk to y'all later. Merry Christmas.